Hello, today I would like to go over a really fun website that you can utilize with your students who are alternately assessed when you're working on the ELA Essential Element SL 3.5, which is creating a multimedia presentation of a story. And the website that I want to show you is called Storyboard That. It is a free website. There's a free version that you can use where you get 3 free storyboards a week. You definitely can pay for it if you wanted the upgraded version. I think it's about $8 or something like that, where you would get unlimited. However, there is a free option. You get 3 storyboards a week, which has always seemed to do the trick. So I definitely haven't had to upgrade, and I just use the free version. So I want to go through this really awesome website that you can utilize with your students, whether you are in person or virtually. And it's really great because there's just so many options for your students to get really creative. And I want to show you all the different things that they have that you can use. So we're going to start a new board, and I'm going to show you right here what pops up when you're first starting. You have 3 different cells. And what's really nice is can be used when you're working with your students if you wanted them to go through and create their own types of stories. This is perfect for beginning, middle, and end, right? You can really go through that, hone in with your students on what that looks like as they're creating their own stories, while they're also able to get really creative and really use their imaginations, right? It's so much fun. There's so many options here. And I'm going to show you just a ton of different options that they have as backgrounds here. You can see this is town, right? They have entertainment. They have, home, outside and inside. They have various different cells for school, right? So you can see they're very recent. As you can see right here, all you need to do is drag and drop any of these images right into one of the cells, and it will pop up, right? So you can see it's really simple. You can keep them the same if you want. You can change them if you want, right? So they don't have to be the same. But when you click on this, you can see you can change a ton of different things. So like you can change right here the color of the doors of the school if you wanted. When you're in the classroom, you can change the color of the floor. You can change the walls. You can change the table. So there's so many different options. Your students can really get super creative. They can make almost anything look like their own classroom if they wanted to, or they can create their own stuff, right? If they wanted to get really creative, they can make outside really dark and gloomy, right? So many different options you'll see here. That's how you can change all the different colors. And what I really like about this is that it's very simple because all you need to do is drag and drop, right? So you're dragging and dropping the backgrounds. Your students don't need a lot of fine motor skills to do this. They don't even have to get crazy and change all the colors if they don't want to. They can still go through and create a story with a beginning, middle, and end. They can keep the same scene for all 3 of them. So there's just so many options for your students to have to get as creative as they want. Or if they really just want to participate in creating their own story and they need some support with that, it's all right here for you, right? So you can change all the different settings. Like I said, you can have all different colors. And what's nice is if you are sharing your screen, you can simply just ask your students which ones, and then you click on it, right? So it's very simple, really easy to use, which I really like. So these are all the different settings you can utilize for your students. If you wanted to create a story with them, you wanted them to create their own story, they can go in and do this, right? So now that's the scenes or the setting, and then we can move on to the characters. So you'll see here they have so many different options. They can have adults, they can have teens, and they can have kids. And if you take a look at the kids, what I really like is they have a lot of different representation. They are very culturally responsive as well. They have all different types of students and children and kids. You can see they have adapted equipment as well. There's wheelchairs, there's prosthetics, they have support animals or service animals, and we have some masks, right? So again, all very recent, very current. You can find students that look like your students. They can find their own characters and pick their own characters however they want to be represented. And what I really like about this is they can also change them to make sure that they look like them. And I think that that's really fun. It's really awesome. I love that they have that option because that's not something that we always have the option to do. So I think that Storyboard That is fantastic for that option. They can create their friends, they can create their families, kids in their class, their teachers, whatever, right? And they can change the colors of their clothes however they want that to look, right? So tons of different options that are really fun to utilize. I'm also going to show you how you can go in and you can actually edit their facial expressions. You can make them look different as if they're speaking, right? If they were angry, you can do a ton of different things. You can move their arms around if they were doing something. You can also have them positioned where they're facing another person, right? So they can move their arms around that way. They could be talking to someone, right? So tons of different ways to move the bodies around so that they actually look like they're speaking in their scenes. So I also want to show you here one thing that's really cool. If you did have a student who was in a wheelchair who needed an adapted type of equipment, you can very simply go in. You can have them in a seated position. And if you update that, you can go and add in a wheelchair by dragging and dropping it. And then you would just position them, right? You would layer it so that the student is actually on it, right? So then you can move the student up so that they were there. And if you had the wheelchair, you can change the color. So really any student would be represented, right? So they could feel like they're actually, you can make them even like a little bigger so they would fit in the wheelchair, right? So really super simple. Doing that, you can move everything around, move it down here, also move the character down here, so that really all of our students can be represented and they can make characters that really look like them and are represented in comics that they could participate in if they wanted, right? So I really, really like that feature. I think it's fantastic. I think it's great that we have that option for all of our different students because there's so many times that they don't get to see that, right? And, the addition of masks as we've been using in class, which is very common and recent. So let's move along, and now we can even add in some speech bubbles. Right, so again, super simple by dragging and dropping. You can have it here. We can type in, hey, right? You can make it big, make it a little bigger. So you can type in text if you want. If your students are able to start adding in any of those text features, you can move it around. We can add in another character. So they are talking to someone else, right? Drop another character. Then we can add in the characters, right? So we have all different features. We can make anything we wanted, right? Oops, orange hair. Oh boy. So we can have all different features of different characters. You can add as many characters as you want into a scene, right? So many different things. The students can do different poses. They could be facing each other. So if we were to click on her and change her so that she was actually facing the other character, right? So then they could be talking. Might want to make her a little bit bigger. She looks really tiny, or maybe she's just tiny. So many different options for you to use with your students. I really like that. I think it's really fun for the students to get creative and find things either that they want to make on their own or to be representative of what they experience. So this is called Storyboard That, a great way to have your students create different stories. I hope you can use this in your classroom with your students, and I hope they have really a lot of fun making up their own stories by using this type of feature.